I'm very honored to be invited to give this presentation, and I find this a very humbling experience because back in Ireland, back in Northern Ireland, we started where you are now 15 years ago. And it was only through the work of dedicated parents that we've managed to produce changes in our community. My presentation today will be a story of the difficulties those parents have had in educating themselves and other parents about the science of applied behavior analysis. So I will be looking at some of the research evidence or some of the support that applied behavior analysis has in the research area. I will be giving you some information relating to what we should say, the obstacles that many parents face, either through the difficulties they have themselves financially, because often it is thought that applied behavior analysis is very expensive. But what I've said to parents is that knowledge is not that expensive. If you have people who are prepared to educate you, work in partnership with them and learn together. So the science isn't expensive. Science is something for everybody to be shared. So be careful if you find that you're paying a lot of money for expensive services. It shouldn't be that way. So the objective is to try to change your community so that everybody benefits from the findings of the science. When you work with your children, your starting point is to say, how much can my kid learn? How do I know how to push my child further? Don't accept where your child is if what's happening to your child isn't good for your child. Can I bring my child forward? And given that you're starting off in the position that you have where there is no community of behavior analysis, you really are in a situation where you have to work as a team, both to develop your skills as paraprofessionals, that is, not qualified professionals, but working in partnership with perhaps students who eventually become professionals. But you need to work also to lobby politicians to make them aware of the successes that you will undoubtedly have with your children. So I will show you some stuff at the start here, a couple of quotations looking at the evidence for ABA, or applied behavior analysis. And I do this because, in a sense, I'm going to tell you a story about how we got started in Ireland. And I'm going to tell you that story with a case study by a little boy called Keenan. Now, I'm going to show you a video clip later on. When I sent that video clip, I know he talks very fast, and so do I. And I'm trying to slow down. And when I slow down, I sometimes trip over my own English. So I hope the translators can follow me. One of the things that you will learn today is that ABA, or applied behavior analysis, is not a therapy for autism. And that's very important for some political reasons. ABA is the applied branch of a science of human behavior. There's a focus on what's called evidence-based practice. That is, you will collect evidence of what you do, and if the data you collect shows that you're not being effective, then you change your practice. You respond to the data that you collect, so you will be trained as scientists when you educate your children. I will show some more stuff on supporting ABA. But unfortunately, within Ireland, there are politics involved in teaching about applied behavior analysis. Now, I'm not sure what the situation is like in Portugal, but I thought, well, if I'm talking to parents who are starting off from scratch, then it's best that they become aware of potential politics. Because introducing a new science, when it is not taught in universities, can create obstacles because people don't like you coming into their turf. They don't like you saying what you have been doing could be more effective. They get defensive. And we don't want that because there's no point in being defensive if your primary concern is maximizing potential. So by people working together, we could maybe hopefully avoid some of the politics I'm going to share with you. But I will show you the politics anyway, so that you become aware that it may happen. Okay, a couple of quotations here now. And I might have messed up my presentation for the translators, because as I was preparing this, I thought, well, maybe I'll present it kind of differently. I've given some quotations at the start rather than just later on. These are very simple to translate, I think. This is from the Supreme Court of British Columbia in 2000. Looking at the evidence for applied behavior analysis, they concluded, it is beyond debate that the appropriate treatment is ABA, or early intensive behavioral intervention. Another one from the Surgeon General of the United States. 30 years of research demonstrated the efficacy of applied behavior analysis in reducing inappropriate behavior and increasing communication, learning, and appropriate social behavior. Now, this kind of information is important because when I started teaching parents in Northern Ireland, none of the professionals who were working with the parents knew about the research evidence that existed for the effectiveness of ABA. I was an academic. I wasn't trained in ABA for autism, and I'll explain this later on. But I assumed as an academic that given the libraries were full of research articles showing applied behavior analysis to be effective, that professionals who worked in the community were also aware of this material. As it turned out, I was a typical academic in an ivory tower. Once I realized the lack of information in the community, I decided to reach out with some parents to try and transform that situation for the benefit of the community. Now, more recent support for applied behavior analysis in the States comes from lobbying done to force insurance companies to pay for ABA. Insurance companies will not easily pay for treatment. They will not easily give up their money unless there is convincing evidence. If you look at the table here in green, states, this may have changed, it's maybe 27, 28 now. There's 27 states in America who have mandated insurance companies, you must pay for your ABA, or you must pay for the ABA if parents want it. Okay, that suggests to me that if you're not familiar with evidence for ABA, then perhaps you should talk to those insurance companies because they have been persuaded. Okay? And this change has only happened because of parents. It's about the power of parents to change things. Parents have lobbied, they have worked alongside academics to produce the changes you see in that diagram. Now we have another quotation from a review done in 2000. Sorry, translators, I'll read this one. The importance of early, intensive intervention for children with autism cannot be overstated. Numerous studies have concluded outcomes are substantially more positive when the children begin receiving effective, intensive intervention as early as possible. Look at the bottom line here. It says, in contrast, it is likely that 90% of children who do not receive effective early intervention will require special or custodial care throughout their lives. Now, even in purely financial terms, that suggests that perhaps there should be an investment in early intensive intervention, both for parent training and for training with professionals. Because when children no longer need care, the state would be saving vast sums of money. Now, the second part of this report says, based upon a thorough examination of numerous methodologies considered as interventions of children with autism, the MADSEC Autism Task Force has characterized the interventions reviewed as follows. The only one that came out on top that was regarded as having provided substantial evidence of scope and quality was applied behavior analysis. Now I will be giving some more examples of the research evidence to support the investment in applied behavior analysis.